A lot of people still want a pretty normal life, a decent place to live, a stable job, maybe a partner, maybe kids, some savings, and enough breathing room to not feel stressed about money all the time. The problem is that this version of normal has gotten a lot more expensive. For decades, the advice sounded simple: finish school, get a decent job, move out, get married, buy a house, maybe have kids, save for retirement, and slowly build a stable life. That was the plan. But now, a lot of young people look at that checklist and think, I'm not sure these steps actually line up with real life anymore. And when people talk about this, they often make it sound like a personality problem. Young people are lazy. They do not want to commit. They refuse to grow up. They spend too much. They expect too much. I think that misses the bigger point. A lot of people are making different choices because the numbers behind the old choices have changed. They are not walking away from houses, marriage, kids, or stability because they hate those things. They are stepping back because each step costs more, requires more income, and leaves less room for mistakes. The old plan basically assumed that if you did the responsible things, the next step would eventually be within reach. Get the education, get the job, save a little, pair up, buy the house, have the family, retire one day. But now every step depends on another step that is less certain. You need a good job to afford rent. You need affordable rent to save for a down payment. You need savings to feel safe having kids. You need stable childcare to keep working. You need work to afford healthcare, insurance, debt payments, and retirement contributions. If one part of that chain breaks, the whole plan gets pushed back. That is why so many people are not necessarily saying never. They are saying not yet. Not yet to moving out, not yet to buying, and for some people, not yet to having kids or planning a wedding. Retirement saving often gets pushed back too, because the more urgent bills are already taking up the paycheck. And when millions of people are all delaying the same things, that is not just a bunch of random personal choices. It says something about the economy people are actually living in. The first big pressure point is housing. Housing used to be the foundation of the normal life plan. Not because owning a home magically made someone an adult, but because having a stable place to live made everything else easier. It gave people room to plan, start a family, build routines, and think beyond next month. But when housing gets too expensive, it does not just make houses harder to buy. It makes it harder to plan adult life in order. If rent takes too much of your paycheck, saving becomes slower. If saving is slower, the down payment moves further away. If the down payment moves further away, the family timeline changes. And if buying means stretching your monthly budget all the way to the edge, even people who can technically afford the house might look at the payment and think, I do not want my life to feel that tight every month. This is why just rent longer is not always a simple answer either. Renting can be smart. It gives you flexibility. It means fewer repair surprises. And in a lot of places, it can be the better financial move. But if rent is expensive, buying is expensive, and paychecks are not keeping up, then people are not choosing between two easy options. They are choosing which kind of pressure they can live with. The second big pressure point is starting a family. The age when people have kids has shifted. Census data shows that from 1990 to 2019, birth rates for women ages 20 to 24 fell sharply, while birth rates for women ages 35 to 39 rose. The median age at birth moved from 27 to 30. That does not mean everyone is waiting for the same reason. Some people want more time for school, some want to build a career first, some do not want children, some have not found the right partner. But money is clearly part of the background. Having kids today is not just, can we afford diapers? It is, can we afford childcare and rent at the same time? Can one parent take leave without wrecking the budget? Can we handle health insurance, a bigger apartment, a safer car, emergency savings, and still not feel like one surprise bill could knock everything over? For a lot of people, waiting is not about being irresponsible. It is about trying not to start a family while already feeling financially stretched. The third pressure point is work. The old life plan assumed work would get more stable as you got older. You might start out underpaid or job hop early on, but eventually your income was supposed to grow into your responsibilities. Now, a lot of people feel like their responsibilities are growing faster than their income. A job can look good on paper, but the paycheck can disappear into rent, transportation, insurance, student loans, groceries, medical costs, and retirement savings before it ever starts to feel like a life. That changes how people think about big decisions. They do not just ask, can I technically pay for this? They ask, if I say yes to this, what do I lose? If I buy the house, do I lose flexibility? Having kids might mean sacrificing savings. Taking the higher paying job could cost more time. And moving somewhere cheaper might mean leaving behind the support system that makes life easier. The old life plan made these choices sound like obvious steps forward. Now they often feel more like trade-offs. The fourth pressure point is the lack of breathing room. Breathing room is the money that lets a surprise car repair be annoying instead of catastrophic. It is the extra space that lets you help a family member leave a bad job, take a calculated risk, or sleep at night. A lot of households simply do not have enough of it. According to the Federal Reserve, 17% of adults did not pay all of their bills in full in the month before the survey, and 65% said rising prices had made their financial situation worse. So people are cutting back, buying cheaper things, delaying big purchases, or reducing savings. If you want to understand why people feel cornered, do not just look at one bill, look at everything stacked together. The Bureau of Labor Statistics found that the average consumer unit spent about $500 in 2024. That is not some luxury lifestyle. That is just the cost of keeping a household running. On average, housing was about $26,300 a year, or roughly $2,390 a month. Transportation was about $13,300 a year, or roughly $110 a month. Food was about $10,200 a year, or roughly $850 a month. Healthcare was about $6,200 a year, or roughly $520 a month. And for young families, childcare hits especially hard. Childcare Aware of America estimated the national average price of childcare at about $11,600 a year in 2023, or roughly $965 a month. For two kids in many places, childcare can feel like paying a second rent bill. So now imagine trying to build the normal life plan on top of that. Rent or mortgage, car payment, insurance, groceries, healthcare, student loans, childcare, emergency fund, retirement. Each one sounds normal by itself. Together, they can swallow the entire paycheck. That is why the old milestones feel different now. A wedding requires breathing room. A down payment requires breathing room. A baby requires breathing room. A career change requires breathing room. Retirement saving requires breathing room. Without that room, people do not necessarily become irresponsible. Often, they become cautious. They rent another year, stay with parents longer, keep the old car, delay the second child, avoid a risky move, or choose whatever option keeps them flexible and less trapped. From the outside, that can look like giving up. From the inside, it can feel like trying not to get cornered. This is where a lot of older advice starts to fall apart. Traditional financial advice often acts like the normal milestones are still the default goal, and the only question is how to reach them faster. How do you buy sooner? How do you settle down sooner? How do you get on the ladder sooner? But for many young adults, the question has changed. It is not, how do I get the traditional life as quickly as possible? It is, which parts of that life are actually worth the cost? Because if buying a house means you cannot travel, save, invest, change jobs, or breathe every month, then ownership may not be the automatic win. People said it was. If having children means 2 incomes, a childcare bill, no sleep, no savings, and no nearby family help, then waiting may not be selfish, it may be realistic. If marriage comes with a huge wedding bill, housing pressure, and expectations you cannot afford, maybe people are not afraid of commitment. Maybe they are afraid of starting a life that already feels unstable. None of this means the normal life plan is dead. For some people, it still works really well. If your income is stable, your housing costs are reasonable, your debt is manageable, your health is good, your support system is strong, and your partner has similar goals, the traditional path can still be a great path. The difference is that it no longer feels automatic. It depends much more on your local housing market, your job stability, childcare costs, family support, debt, timing, and plain old luck. That is not young people failing adulthood. It is the old version of adulthood getting more expensive, and it helps explain why so many people are designing lives that look different from what their parents expected. More roommates, more renting, more delaying, more child-free couples, more career switching, and more people choosing flexibility over looking successful from the outside. Sometimes that is painful. Some people are missing out on things they genuinely want because the numbers do not work. That should not be brushed off as just a lifestyle preference. But sometimes, different is also honest. It is people saying they do not want the picture-perfect version of adulthood if the monthly payment makes their actual life worse. The checklist can start to feel less like a guide and more like a trap. And looking stable from the outside does not help much if you feel one bill away from stress all the time. So, if the normal life plan feels far away, it may not be because you failed to grow up. It may be because the plan changed price. Now, the useful question is, how do you avoid getting trapped by that? The first thing is to be honest about income. If your raises are not keeping up with your life, keep checking the market. Apply before you feel desperate. Talk to people in better paying roles. Learn which skills actually move pay in your field. Sometimes the biggest financial move is not cutting one more subscription. It is refusing to stay underpaid for years just because switching jobs feels uncomfortable. The second thing is to build cash earlier than feels exciting. Even a small emergency fund changes your choices. A few months of breathing room can help you leave a bad job, avoid credit card debt, move for a better opportunity, or handle a surprise bill without blowing up the whole plan. The third thing is to invest young if you can. Not because everyone needs to become obsessed with the stock market, but because time is one of the few advantages young people have. Money invested early has more years to grow. Waiting until life gets expensive makes it much harder. The fourth thing is to be careful with fixed costs. Living below your means is not about never enjoying your life. It is about avoiding payments that trap you. The expensive apartment, the huge car payment, the wedding you cannot afford, the house that leaves no room for anything else. Those are the choices that can make a decent income feel fragile. And the fifth thing is to stop treating the old checklist like a deadline. You are not automatically behind because your life does not match someone else's timeline. The goal is not to reject every milestone. The goal is to give yourself options. More income, more savings, fewer fixed expenses, and earlier investing give you more room to choose the life you actually want instead of accepting whatever version you can barely afford. So, before chasing any milestone, the better question is not, am I behind? It is, can I build this life and still have room to breathe? And if you are watching this, what part of the old normal feels hardest to make work right now? The house, the kids, the career, or just the pressure to follow a path that no longer fits?